we don't trust superhero movies anymore.
Mm-mm.
No one's going to watch them. And that could be because of fatigue. It's probably because it's been trash recently. It's probably because they failed us too many times.
This is our opinions, and we support Olan regardless what he does. But do you think he's doing the best he can on releasing stuff? Do you think he should have maybe, I don't know, had like 1 or 2 like almost premieres for this episode rather than just releasing it on his YouTube?
All right, a magical Mad Max Christmas to you.
Yeah.
Here we go. Nice.
Oh, okay. So it says, have a mad and merry Christmas. Welcome back to the Wacky Wonderful Wise Works podcast, all you guys, gals, geeks, and goofballs, and Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Look,
Christmas.
I'm expecting our views to not be super high on Christmas.
Well, this is coming out the Friday before Christmas. Christmas is in 2 days.
Yeah. Yes.
No,
yes.
3 days. 3 days. It's Monday.
It's the
So 3
weekend.
days.
I'm expecting not to be a ton of YouTube across the board viewership, right, over the Christmas weekend. But Christmas nonetheless.
Yes.
Yeah.
And maybe they'll catch it after Christmas. But it doesn't matter. We can't predict these things necessarily.
Or
Thank
if, you're
goodness
hanging out
for-
with your family and it's kind of slow, pop it on with the family.
Yeah.
Just as a family, they watch us three fools.
Just listen.
Throw it on the
You don't
TV
even have to watch.
pause.
You can just listen, and maybe watch for like the last part of the podcast because we have some visual. We have some visual stuff, but otherwise, just throw it on. Have some fun.
Yeah, and people listening, it's cool that you listen. I will say today is going to be fun for the visual element, so you can watch on YouTube or Spotify. So make sure you watch this episode in particular. I think you'll enjoy it.
Yeah.
So I wanted to start with a little something, if it's okay.
Yep.
So we've been under the impression that if Denis Villeneuve just does the Dune book, it's done in this movie. However, back in 2021 and recently, Denis said that he's also doing the Dune Messiah book. So that means that he's going to have 3 movies. The only reason there is 3 is because he needed to make Dune into 2 parts. But he's doing Dune and Dune Messiah. Now, a recent article is saying that Denis has confirmed he has 3 movie scripts.
Yeah.
So it looks like this is not going to be the last of the Denis Villeneuve Dune universe. We're going to get another movie, it seems.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't mind as long as it's quality.
Let me ask you this. I know this might be a little spoiler, but does Fade Rotha, is he, and I know Florence Pugh, the princess, is in later books, but is Fade past Dune? Like, does he show up he's only in Dune? I'm not going to say he dies or anything. I'm just going to say he's not in the other books. So it looks like they have to have a lot of Austin Butler. They could put Florence Pugh on the back burner and save her for Dune Messiah, correct?
Probably, yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. I actually haven't read Dune Messiah, so I don't know how much Princess Irulan is in the later books.
Right. But it means to really get a full Fade Rotha experience, he has to be in a lot in the Dune Part 2. And then it would be kind of cool to see the trilogy as Dune Part 1, Dune Part 2, and then Dune Messiah. That'd be so kind of cool, man. Right?
Yeah.
So it looks like that's what's confirmed right now. The reason I looked into this is because we did our reaction and we got a few comments, people being like, no, you guys said that there's only 2. This is going to be the last Dune movie. Denis Villeneuve has confirmed there's going to be a 3rd movie, right?
Yeah.
So I went and looked at it. I found a few articles that confirm that. But also when it comes to Dune, there's always been a question on if there's going to be another movie, right? So like Dune Part 1, it's like, if it doesn't succeed, we're not getting the Dune Part 2. And with Dune Part 2, it's like, well, the actors strike and are people going to the theaters and such. And if Dune Part 2 does well, which I'm predicting it will.
Oh, it's going to.
then we'll get Dune Messiah probably. But it,
I mean, so looking at it objectively, moving the date back now that the strikes are over, do you think
good
that's
move.
going to be? You think it's a good move? You think it's going to be positive that they can promote the movie and they can do ads and they can have the actors come out and talk about it and everything?
Yes. So I think also we have to talk about the season. So if you're not going to do the Christmas release, which in some ways I don't know if the Christmas release is as valuable as it was 5-6 years ago.
Yeah, there's a lot coming out right now.
You got a Wonka movie. There's other stuff coming out. There's a lot. Napoleon just came out. There's plenty of stuff around this Christmas season that people can go to the theater and watch. And I think Dune Part 2 might have been clouded. In March, there's not going to be as big of releases as Dune. So it kind of can steal the spotlight a little bit in the same way that Mario stole the spotlight last April. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I agree.
So I think, and people are gearing up for the summer. Like I think in March, people are more like maybe in January, people are less likely to go to the theater. But then in March, you start gearing up for the summer theaters. And so I think even if they don't go to opening weekend, they'll hit it at some point over the next 2 months.
Yeah.
And I think it'll be a fine time. I think it's going to overall be good for the release, right? That's my prediction.
Yeah, no, I agree.
So yeah, I think it's coming out right around my daughter's birthday. So I'm going to have to give myself a birthday present for my daughter and go to the theater.
Wait,
What day is she?
8th, March 8th.
Nice.
Yep. And this is coming out right at the beginning of March. So
cool.
2 great things to celebrate there at the beginning of March. Now, that's all I had. I just wanted to bring that to the light because I don't necessarily want to be inclined. And when it comes to an epic story like this, you kind of want the Jackson trilogy vibe. You kind of want the 3 movies. Do you think? I know it doesn't have as much pull as the incredible Lord of the Rings trilogy, but do you think that 10 years from now we're going to be putting up this Dune trilogy next to Lord of the Rings trilogy and say like these are kind of the best trilogies in cinema history?
I don't know because we have let's just think Planet of the Apes.
It's not as good as either of these.
It's not as popular, but it's still good, but nobody's talking about Planet of the Apes until another Planet of the Apes movie comes out. It's maybe not as good. Maybe you're not putting it on the same playing field, but it's still a good movie. I think during the time of Lord of the Rings, there was not movies like that coming out, and so they held them in such high regard, and they've just been beloved throughout the years.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think I think Dune potentially has, the ability, maybe the staying power to be a trilogy or even just the 2 movies themselves to be held up as like this is, some of the best high concept
cinema
dramatic, sci-fi fantasy that we have. And yeah, I think I don't know that it'll be put up there with Lord of the Rings because Lord of the Rings was made in such a time where it
stood out as such a heavy anomaly.
Yeah, and even though there's a lot and I think that similar to Lord of the Rings, Dune will have an audience that watches and appreciates and learns the lore the same way that people in Lord of the Rings, because we understand Lord of the Rings when we watch it, when we see things happen, but general audiences may see something and not understand. It's like, why is this significant? And I know watching Dune, that was, for me, I understood why things were significant.
Right.
Whereas the general audiences may not have.
Well, the good thing about Dune is that it doesn't insult your intelligence. Like, you're like, you can get the details you need from the movie. From the first movie, everything you need is there. You don't have to have a ton of book knowledge the same way you don't have to have all the book knowledge for Lord of the Rings to get the movies. And so I just kind of feel, and it doesn't just give you exposition exposition. It's you to really grasp a good concept, 2 or 3 watches and you got it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it doesn't insult your intelligence to where we have to make it super clear and you like we're dumbing it down for you. You do
Yeah.
really have to watch it a few times if you're not fully grasping everything, but
Well, I
it
think
becomes more alive the more you watch it.
I think
right?
also the second movie will clear up some of the confusion that people had with the first. Like, why are they going to this planet? What's the point? Why were they attacked? Because with the introduction of the Emperor, I think there will be a little bit of exposition there of why.
Right.
Why, what he's afraid of, what he doesn't want to happen. And so it'll give people a little bit more insight into why the things are happening.
Yeah. And
I mean, I asked somebody at work not too long ago. They're talking about Dune, and I said, "Did everything make sense to you? Did you read the book?" And they're like, "Haven't read the book. Everything pretty much made sense, but you watch it a couple of times, it makes more sense as you watch it." But yeah.
Well, like the depth of the history and the importance of the Bene Gesserit lore, that really comes alive on the 3rd watch through or the 4th watch through. I think I've watched this at this point like 6 times.
Sheesh. You know how many times I've watched bits and pieces of it quite a few times, but you know how many times I've sat down and actually watched the whole thing through?
Once.
Yep.
That's ridiculous. This is a good movie. You should watch it.
I've hit it up at least 3 times.
I've watched it 6 times at this point, and the last time was just because I wanted to watch.
Hitting it up. It's on the day that he doesn't have to work, so he's like, "I've got the day. I'm gonna watch it."
Joshua, you can hit it up if you want. You can pop it on. I'm gonna hit it up.
But you know what I'm gonna be hitting up this week? That's coming up instead of Dune. Is I'm gonna be hitting up Maestro, and then also something that I'm going to be sneaking at. I'm going to be taking a peek. I'm going to be peeking at Percy Jackson this week.
Okay.
So I'm going to be peeking at a few things this week. Rebel Moon also.
There's out this week.
Which there's
by the way, coming out.
The critics
can't be going back and watching Dune.
People really don't like Rebel Moon on the critic viewing.
That was actually part of the debate for what I wanted to put on this podcast. If I wanted to talk about the critic response to Rebel Moon, and it seems like it's going to be one of those ones again where the audiences are going to enjoy it more than the critics.
I just hear, that's most Zack Snyder things outside of 300. I feel like, but the criticisms are consistent with what I know about Zack Snyder. It's the visuals are awesome. He really tries new stuff visually, but it's like it's almost the storytelling is so surface level and so tropey. It just kind of feels shallow. Like that's the ultimate criticism, is that there's no depth to this. The interest factor is almost not there because it just follows tropes, so you can see exactly where it's going. And but the visuals are cool, you know what I mean? And that's the common thread I'm seeing. And that sounds like a Zack Snyder film.
It really does. Yeah, but I mean, even Superman and Batman versus Superman, like the extended edition of Batman versus Superman, I enjoy. I think it's.
Well, I really liked Man of Steel. I thought Man of Steel was really good.
So yeah, if he can pull off at least some interesting visuals and a somewhat cohesive story, I'll be happy with that. I just want to see something cool.
A lot of people are just saying it's just so much like Star Wars. They just can't see past that. Like Dune. No, the
Rebel Moon.
It's so much like because it was originally like possibly a Star Wars story back in like 2011 or something, and that didn't happen. And so he's just creating his own universe. But they said it's just so similar to Star Wars that it's hard to see past it. You know what I mean?
I mean, you can't just, in today's world, we've got so much stuff coming out that's good. Well, maybe not that's good specifically, but like
We
we've
have a
got so much
handful
stuff.
of good things and a lot of garbage. Is
Yes,
what
we
we
got
have.
so much stuff coming out. You can't just throw like a big name actor or well-known famous person and have it to be a success. I mean, like, what's the show with John Cena that came out?
Peacemaker.
Yeah.
A lot of people
Well,
liked
people
Peacemaker.
liked Peacemaker. That it really redeemed the Suicide Squad because of Peacemaker.
Yeah,
I
a lot
feel
of
like.
people really enjoyed it. And you know, since we're talking about Peacemaker, we're talking
Yeah.
about interesting director decisions. Our first topic is I
Oh, we're
saw
not
an
specifically
article.
talking about Peacemaker.
No, we're not specifically
Ah,
talking about Peacemaker.
that was so good. I was trying to slide in there.
Well, freaking don't point it
It's
out.
close, but so I found an article. It was pretty recent. People talking about James Gunn talking about why the DCEU failed, and some of the reasons he gets into, and some of the reasons that he hopes that the new stuff is going to succeed.
Right.
Yeah.
So this is him basically holding out hope that he can do something with the DC, which honestly, if you're outside of the money-making aspects of the DCU, you can't. Like anyone with half a brain knows the interest around DC kind of like it's never gotten there. It just never
No,
really got to its full potential.
it's
And
gotten there in like standalone Batman movies,
yeah,
like
Chris
once
Nolan
every.
stuff. That's it.
Well, no, the
Matt
Batman with
Reeves and Chris Nolan and the
yeah
Joker.
with
That's the ones that got there.
Yeah.
with like Robert Pattinson's Batman. We had some hype there too, but
Well,
you have to have like a standalone Batman movie.
in this tweet, it says, yes, one of my problems with DCEU content in the past was there was no real consistency within the universe itself. This never meant, and I never said, as this is how we always envisioned it. All animated and video game content would be in the DCU. I did, and still say most TV and film will be in the DCU, with the occasional Elseworld tale like Matt's The Batman. But it will have to be exceptional. Never mentioned streaming services, but I like more people able to watch DC stories.
Yeah, because he's getting paid for them to watch DC stories.
Right.
I don't. So, in my opinion, we kind of talked about this before. What he's calling Elseworld is the only reason, like, those are the only things that are going to work right now because we don't want, like, DC has not had a good job at creating a universe like the MCU did in the early days. Their crossovers just fail or aren't good. And people aren't as interested in them. And what they are interested in the DC universe is the Elseworld content, is a Joker film that has nothing to do with, other films, is a Batman that's a unique take that Matt Reeves and all these awesome creatives get behind and do,
Well, he talks about it more as we go down in the article about the consistency, saying his response as seen above finds the Suicide Squad. Oh, you're going too far. I can't read that.
Sorry.
Creative, pointing towards the lack of creative consistency across the various DCEU projects being the biggest thing holding the soon to be concluded franchise back from being a success. And down further, where does he says something about he says one of the big reasons the former franchise lacked any kind of consistency was there was being no executive figure to actually create a plan for how it would unfurl and connect for major crossover events. From its launch, the MCU had Kevin Feige overseeing development on all projects in order to lead up to such blockbuster events as the Avengers. He's right. He's right. The fact that the DCEU did not do as well as the MCU was they had too many individual, and I think he actually says this, too many individual directors trying to create their own vision of what they wanted the movies to be.
So Zack Snyder is that what he's kind of alluding
you had
to?
Zack Snyder, you had the director for Aquaman, you had the director for Wonder Woman. These were all different people trying to see their own creative vision succeed, and focusing less on the events that would make this a successful universe. Whereas we know that in Marvel, the individual directors were attempting to make individual movies, but with the knowledge that they would eventually connect.
Well, it all had to go through Kevin Feige.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why right now with Marvel failing, Kevin Feige gets a big portion of that blame because he's the one that's greenlit all of the recent trash, especially stuff on D+, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I heard, I don't mean to stray off too far, but I heard someone say on a podcast, and this was just them speaking out of their butt. They were giving their own opinion of things, where they were talking about how much money Disney has lost recently this year. And they said it's in the B's, how much money Disney has lost.
Mm-hmm.
And so they were like, if you just look at stuff out there, Apple right now is sitting on so much money that they could just buy Disney right now.
Yeah, that's
and people are saying, are whispers, there's whispers out there that Apple wants to buy Disney because they're losing so much money and then they'll bring it back. Do you think it's possible that for the first time ever, and I'm not saying Apple owns DC, but like we could see one company owning DC and Marvel at the same time?
That would be wild.
That would be wild.
That would almost be too much, I think, for one company to have.
It'd be too much power.
Competition is king, you know.
Oh yeah,
competition is what makes the world go round. And if you are having your own projects compete against each other, there's not as much incentive to make it as good as it could be.
Yeah, but
imagine an Avengers and DC crossover.
They've done it. They've done it in the comics.
Yeah.
So, what else was there in this? So I think Gunn talks about having an 8 to 10 year plan for their franchise that will be broken up into 2 major chapters. And even as the former will be launching the DCEU himself with Superman Legacy, closely working with other creatives for other projects, including Adam Muschietti's The Brave and the Bold, which is Batman, James Mangold's Swamp Thing. He wants to, it seems like he wants to have a plan for the movie to be able to succeed as a franchise, and not just as an individual movie. It's great that, Superman, Man of Steel did well by itself, and it's great that the Batman from Matt Reeves and the Joker did great by themselves, but he's trying to make a successful universe. And is he the right guy to do it? I don't know, but I think having creative consistency across the board is what you need to have movies that you'll enjoy.
This is what they should have. I personally think this isn't going to work. If it was going to work, this should have happened back in 2011. And before anything was made for DC Connected Universe, it should have freaking happened a long time ago. I think because we're now on top of all this, we don't trust superhero movies anymore. No one's going to watch them. And that could be because of fatigue. It's probably because it's been trash recently. It's probably because they failed us too many times.
Well, let me point this out. If Marvel, because of their failures and because of their money issues, if they pull back from the superheroes for a minute and start to redesign as well, that could be a big advantage for James Gunn's superhero movies, for the DCEU to establish essentially a new era of what Marvel did and get the jump on them. And I think it would be interesting, at the very least, if the movies are good, to have, up to, at least the Infinity Saga, have a good run of Marvel movies and then have a really good run of DC movies.
Yeah. True. I mean, this might be controversial, but in my opinion, the only thing that's really going to pull me back is if, like, dude, resurrect Smallville or something. You know what I'm saying? Like, give me Smallville again. That's when I think Superman intrigue was at its height. I think Smallville was such a low budget, fun show that just it was kind of adolescent dialogue, but honestly, it was just fun. And it was interesting and lighthearted and heavy at times, but it was just a good adolescent superhero film or series.
Here's the other thing, I think pulling back on budgets, and attempting to make these superhero movies with less
pull
budget.
in the indie market. Let the indie creatives really take hold of these things and get rid of all these executives that's already failed many times.
It's cool what Matt Reeves did with the filmmaking of the Batman.
Because he thinks like an indie filmmaker. The complex nature of all of the creative choices they did visually, and pulling in people. I know he's not indie anymore, but pulling in people with a innovative indie spirit like Greg Fraser. And I mean, you can cast Edward Cullen as Batman and people buy into it. They made magic there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. The filmmaking was good. The cinematography for that movie is excellent. Super awesome. And I think if James Gunn plays to the strength of the DCEU or the DC comics, their strengths are Batman and Superman, and
we have yet to really hit it. Wonder Woman.
If you play well to those,
and Joker.
And Joker, if you play well to the things that it's strongest at, and display what people want to see. People want to see a Justice League that is they're a group together, but they're also individuals. And they I don't know. I just feel like people want to see it. They just don't. We don't have a good. We don't have any good movies that sort of express that. And even towards the end of Zack Snyder's Justice League, he was introducing some other characters, introducing Darkseid, introducing Martian Manhunter, which was, I mean, it was terrible, but I love Martian Manhunter, and I wanted to see more Martian Manhunter.
Yeah. Well, you know what I want to see? I want to see Matt Reeves and the same crew that did the Batman. I want to see their take on an Elseworld kind of darker Flash.
Yeah, a good Flash.
Darker Flash. A good Flash. Like just solo the Flash, really good, maybe origin story a little bit. I don't even care. Just give us a really cool out of the box idea on a Flash story. That's what, like, we don't want Flash in the DCU because we're done with it.
Yeah.
And we don't want Wonder Woman in the DCU because we're done with it. I mean, we need to have something new. And you're right. We might sound like a broken record. I think Elseworld, just out of the box ideas with all these different creators' ideas, is going to be where DC gets their most money from. Not creating a universe that James Gunn's trying to do. And maybe he's doing it right by starting small and saying like Superman Legacy, and we're going to do an animated series or a film. And he's starting small, which might be a good move, but man, it just seems like such a mountain to climb that might be impossible.
Yeah. Well, I think if they can make 4, 5, 6 movies and lead up to an interesting Justice League, which I think was part of the problem with the previous incarnation, was they got 3 movies before a Justice League team up.
Yeah.
You know, you got
How many Marvel
you got,
movies did we get before Avengers?
oh, so many.
So many.
You got some
12
for
or something
Iron
like that?
Man and Hulk and
Yeah.
Captain
2
America and
Captain Americas, I
Thor.
believe.
No. We got one Captain America.
One.
Before
We got
Avengers?
2 Iron Man movies.
2 Iron Mans.
Yeah, but and it was such a big thing when Avengers came out. We'd never seen this crossover before. Everybody's like, "Wait, what? You got to watch Iron Man and Captain America to get what's going on in this Avengers movie?"
But we
That's
didn't have
wild.
to because everyone had already watched them, right?
Yeah, by the time Avengers came out, people had seen all of them.
Yeah.
So yeah, if I think if they can pull it off, they may be able to swipe the rug out from under Marvel, and produce basically what Marvel did in the early days. But if they do it badly, then it's the whole thing's going to crash and burn on itself.
I was thinking back on the first Avengers movie, and if you go back and watch that movie, you'll notice a lot, like more than you might be comfortable with. We didn't notice it at the time, but more than you might be comfortable with is just sweeping cameras of Avengers Assemble with just epic music. Dun, dun, dun,
Well, that's what people. That's what people wanted.
Because it was the first time we've seen it.
They
It's the
wanted
first time
to
we've
see
seen
the superheroes together, fighting together, being a team. You know, it was fun.
Yeah, and
it really was.
They did that so much in the first Avengers because it was the first time. But it's almost corny how much they did it.
Yeah,
it makes me think of the corny line on Sky High when he's like, you know, the Stronghold 3, the greatest superhero family that the world has ever known.
Yeah. And
so cheesy.
What you have to do is
what do you got to do?
Play to each of the characters' strengths, and not just make it. You have to know Superman is hope, justice, the American way kind of thing.
No, he's a citizen of the world now. We changed that.
He at the very least he has to be truth and hope and justice, right?
Yeah.
Batman has to be the dark. He has to be the Dark Knight. He has to be that sort of ninja with
it rains a lot.
It rains a lot, and he has to have a solution for everything.
When are we gonna introduce Robin? Everybody's trying to forget about Robin.
I think Chris Nolan did it the best. And almost him not having a story as Robin was the right choice. Once you introduce Robin,
I would
it's
agree.
super cheesy.
I would agree.
I hate Joseph Gordon-Levitt adult Robin.
It really nerfs Batman once you get to Robin.
How he introduced him, but I wanted to see more of that Robin. I wanted to see Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
You dyslexic, bro.
He's such a good actor, and him playing Robin would have been good. Even though he's not the right age, I'm gonna accept it.
The best way to do Robin is for Batman to adopt the first Robin, Dick Grayson, and the only way he knows how to channel that need for vengeance and everything is to make him an extension of the Batman persona, right? And to take him on select missions.
Right.
And to teach him on select missions. I think the issue people get into with Robin is like, what, Batman's just dragging this kid with him everywhere? No, I think he needs to, it's part of teaching him, part of training him and raising him and bringing him on select missions and having that be how Robin is a part of the universe and not just like there's Batman and his kid,
That's true. Let's see here.
That's
all I have about DC.
That's sort of it about DC. I'm curious to see what they're gonna do. It's interesting. James Gunn talking about it, I think, is very important. I like the fact that he's being vocal about what he wants to do, what he wants to see, the changes he's making. That's maybe positive for a lot of people. We're a little bit cynical these days because
With good reason.
we've seen so much stuff just fall off. And so it,
James Gunn is
know.
out here being the only guy with an optimist attitude.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
The only one out here being like, no, guys, this could work. This could work. Hold on.
James Gunn he's got a lot on his shoulders. He's trying to, he's trying to do the Lil Wayne thing. He's trying to pick the world up.
If he can do it, look, if he can succeed, then, good on him.
I suppose it could be beautiful if he succeeds.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Good luck. Good luck, James Gunn.
Godspeed, if you will.
I mean, we know that he can. We know that he can create interesting stories. We've seen it in Guardians. He can create fun, but happy, and compelling, sad.
He can also ruin good stories too.
True. Yes, he can.
But do you know who's not ruining good things?
The Patreon supporter?
Right.
Well, I was going to say us over on the Patreon.
Okay.
We're not ruining things. But yeah.
Thank you, Karina,
thank you,
for
Karina.
being Look, thank you for being on Patreon. Thank you for enjoying content. When she's over there, she gets early podcasts. She gets her name in the credits of each episode. She gets Patreon shout out. She also gets to just support us and allow us to keep creating podcasts and have an audience there.
And the pre-show. Today we talked a lot about World War II.
Yeah.
So if you're interested in World War II content and our opinions on just that whole thing, go check out the pre-show on the Patreon.
I don't know if we gave solidified opinions about World War II, but we definitely
talked about it. I don't know that we gave informed, historically accurate opinions on World War II.
Outside of being like, man, people wilding out. You know what I mean? Look, let's transition. Really excited to talk about this next bit. I don't really have good banter other in between here.
So when did the Patreon, or not the Patreon, the GoFundMe open for this? Because we definitely talked about it on the podcast summit at some point. It was
like a year and a half ago. It was like a year and a half ago.
Going to the you don't have just Godspeed? The Godspeed logo?
I meant to get the logo and I forgot. Sorry.
So we're talking about Olan Rogers Godspeed that came out as of recording this yesterday.
I mean, I can add it to the slides now.
Nope.
No, you already got it pulled in.
Yeah.
But Olan Rogers, we talked about this quite a while ago. He was dealing with a lot of stuff with Final Space and them kind of dropping his show, Final Space. And so he said, I'm going to just put up a GoFundMe and see if I can make a cartoon solely based off of me and a couple creators, just creativity, and not have to worry about a studio, dropping us and doing what they want. We're going to do our thing and we're going to get it out there for the fans because we've got fans. And so they did that. They raised so much more than they ever expected. And
I think they were in the realm of, to give you some background, because he kind of explained it the past couple days. So they raised over $400,000 on Kickstarter. Once they got going, he was like, okay, this is going to get us about a 6 to 8 minute cartoon short with that amount of money, right? That they need. He found a private investor that brought it up to, I think, probably 1.6 million. I think that's based on the numbers. And they were able to get essentially a 28 minute short pilot for Godspeed. He has a new Kickstarter, and I guess we'll get into the review for this, but he has a new Kickstarter that I'll show you here. Let's see, share screen. And this went up. It's actually kind of a funny story. It was supposed to go live yesterday. It went out the day before because he scheduled it wrong. He put out a video being like, I messed up. The Godspeed Kickstarter's up a day early. And in this video, he's like, I'm talking about how you just watched Godspeed and you hadn't watched it yet. So, but in the first day, before Godspeed came out,
Yeah.
it raised $70,000 because
Wow.
I've been watching this. Godspeed came out, so the
Before anybody
pledges
even watched it.
before
People are
anybody
just
even
like, this is
watched it.
gonna work. We're gonna give money.
And since Godspeed came out yesterday, we've blown past the $100,000 goal, and he's sitting at 136,000 currently.
Mhm.
So what to break down what's the needs as far as to keep this thing going, he kind of covers it down here in the Kickstarter. $100,000 is it keeps it alive, so it keeps the conversation going. He has assets for the animation. He can do real short social stuff, like 60-second, 2-minute social stuff, to kind of keep like the animation ideas alive. Maybe they're going to put this in festivals. Maybe that can lead into it. 600,000 gets another episode that's around about 8 minutes, right? 1,200,000 gets to $1,800,000. Other full second episode like we saw yesterday.
Yeah.
Right. He's not expecting. I believe what he's saying is he's throwing these numbers out so we have a clear idea of what's needed. He's not expecting it to be raised, as you see, he put a goal out for 100,000 because he just wants to keep it alive with this. I think what he's really saying is it gets in festivals, it gets attention, it keeps alive by us, and then he gets private investors going to either turn this into a second episode or a whole season. That's really his goals, right? And I think it needs like a few $1 million for a whole season. So so we've already kept it alive based on the numbers. It's alive. It's moving forward. It's not going to be dead in the water with episode 1.
Right.
So that's really positive. I think with that information, though, I want to do a review of this. Right.
Yeah.
My first reaction is, wow.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so. He really says that he wants people to laugh. He wants people to cry. He really wants to tap into what makes you feel things, right? With these simple animated stories. And I would say there was 2 moments that really made me teary-eyed. And this is a 28 episode pilot. I'm not invested in these characters yet, but it taps into you. And
go ahead, Josh.
I was gonna say, well, it's definitely way more serious and dramatic than like Olan Rogers' previous stuff, because Olan is known for his comedy, and there was quips of comedy in there, but not like I wouldn't call this a comedy. This was more of a serious thing.
We had a comic relief with Bowie, right?
Yeah. I would say it is more serious, but it's definitely kind of in line with his serious writing, which he's really good at. Even in the early days, when I would watch some of his just self-made series on his YouTube channel, just some sci-fi series that he would make, he's really good at taking goofy characters and making very serious, heartwarming, powerful moments with them.
That might be his biggest strength when it comes to storytelling.
Yeah, and so, but also like this, just watching it, I'm so invested in what's happening just right from the get-go.
You don't happen to have a shot of I think it was just outer space. Outer space shot. That was probably my favorite frame. There was a lot of good stuff.
Yeah, there was a lot of good
like
shit. I mean,
the space frame looked really
visually
cool.
This is just a really incredible visual,
a new take, a new animation style.
Yeah,
right?
it visually was the lighting, the lines, everything.
And original music. I don't know what you score for the short.
Now, I think anyone who watches this probably is interested in hearing people talk about the end, right? So now Olan said Warner Brothers owns Final Space. And he said this kind of from the beginning. insinuate what you will. You know what I mean? He's not officially making a statement about any of this, but insinuate what you will. So obviously, this is the daughter of Gary.
Probably.
100% the daughter of Gary and what's her face? I can't remember, because she's mixed, first of all. And the Kingslayer, you know what I'm saying, there at the end.
Well, what I love about it is it's very clearly a similar thing that has happened to Gary, where his dad went off to stop the destruction.
Right.
You know, his dad went off to stop the destruction, and then there were a couple other similarities that I noticed, and yeah, but it's a much more serious take. And you're right, the cat dude at the end with the same voice.
Yeah, same actor.
Yeah,
same actor
as Avocado.
Well, that's the actor can voice whatever he wants. That has nothing to do with. But and they did make it a point to say like that guy that is in the photos is like her uncle. So
yeah, and I in Final Space lore though, Avocado does die. So I'm not sure if this is supposed to be Lil Kato. You know what I mean?
Could be.
Or what exactly it's insinuating, but 100% he's piggybacking without it being obvious, because he doesn't want to infringe on copyrights. And I think that's perfectly appropriate, especially for how dirty they did him. He deserves to have this in the same way that he deserves way more than just being able to create a graphic novel to end the Final Space story. He deserves the story. It's his. It doesn't matter who technically has money behind it. It's his story, and it's wrong that the way they treated his story and how much effort he put into it.
Now, I don't know. Did I get a good picture of her just like standing? I wanted to sort of see her outfits, and
we got the orange accents, like
the orange accents like Little Kato. I think she's wearing like a red shirt under a jacket, which is very Gary. He wears a red shirt under a distinct jacket.
Right.
His is brown.
Yeah. So overall, like as far as dialogue goes, as far as talent goes, what are you guys sitting at? If you're gonna treat this and review it like you would any other Hollywood production,
I think there was very dramatic and visually really good. I think you could tell maybe here and there they were saving some frames, almost anime-esque, to save some money. And you could tell that here and there. It wasn't bad though. It still worked for a cartoon, and everything was very pleasing to watch.
In some ways I kind of like that vibe. I like the way it feels, as far as it kind of changes. It changes the way they move it from time to time. It's like a refreshing. It's almost, this in some ways I think deserves to be, this just so much reminds me of something you might see on Love, Death and Robots, you know? And I think it's just, it's such a unique animated style. It's so beautifully done. The voice talent did a good job. I wouldn't say there's not, it was hard to find an anchor point as far as a charisma in the talent that you might obviously with Olan and Gary, somebody there from Final Space. But I feel like it's a little bit like it's not anchored as much as I would hope, but it's still a solid story. Did you guys kind of get that feeling a little bit?
Yeah.
Like we're observing something that's very different than Olan does. There's not there wasn't any big standout characters or standout performances that just really grabbed your attention outside of Bowie, maybe.
Yeah, I think Bowie was definitely the character I enjoyed watching the most because of his eccentricities. Why I don't I Olin's really good at taking characters like that and just making you like really love them.
Yeah, exactly.
Uh,
It
and
just the way he kept just wanting to party and dance. You
yeah,
know what I'm
so
saying?
that's one of his things. He takes like he'll take a character and be fun with it and give them one or two things that they're consistent with to make you care about them. Like his
Right.
thing is wanting to party, wanting to dance.
He's like, they have so much music. I'm downloading all of it.
Uh-huh. Yeah,
You know what I'm
it
saying?
makes me love that character so much because of their hyperfixation.
Mhm.
Like the ship in Final Space with the cookies.
Yeah, exactly.
And
Yeah. Or
doing its job.
the peeing fight. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
Yeah.
or what's the character? Triborg? The one that's just like the three-eyed green
Oh,
alien.
right. Yeah.
Right? Just being super eccentric.
Yes.
And
Crazily weird too.
insanely weird.
Yeah.
But no, I liked the serious tone of this one.
I did too. It's new. I think it's stretching him creatively, which is important. I'm really excited to see what a follow-up to this would be once we get to that point. And I do have faith that we'll reach another full episode of this.
I think so too. Are you guys kind of pretty much done talking about the episode itself? Because I just want to, I don't know, what do you guys think? This is our opinions, and we support Olan regardless what he does. But do you think he's doing the best he can on releasing stuff? Do you think he should have maybe, I don't know, had like one or two like almost premieres for this episode rather than just releasing it on his YouTube? Or do you think he did the best?
No, I think he's doing the look. Personally, if I'm going to look at his creative role, he needs to. He has a lot of support and there's a lot of love for Olan. He needs to connect harder with the audience again. He needs to release him videos. He needs to keep him going along with working on this stuff. So that means like once every 2 weeks, look, just create a story, give a life update, like do something fun. Like he's releasing Mondays, which is now like his new ice cream shop on wheels in Nashville there. And I think they're going to travel around. So they got Mondays open. Let's see a little Olan Rogers documentary on Mondays. You know what I mean? Like we need to connect to Olan here. We can't just have, and releasing your animation and doing it all like private funders and fundraising and releasing it on YouTube. Like get out of Hollywood. You don't need it. 100% you don't need it. You're going to be so much happier. It's going to be so much better. And the fans are going to love it so much more if you keep it out of Hollywood and do what you're doing here. He's on the right track. We just need more Olan, you know?
I liked the reference. It was like I had a shop, but it was destroyed by a tornado.
Yeah, oh my goodness.
I was like, dang.
There's the cookie on the floor. There's a lot of good references.
Good references in this animation, and I'm glad we got it.
I mean, if you were to analyze Olan and the way he's doing things right now, like what do you think he needs to just keep pushing this momentum down the road? You know,
I think you're right. I think he needs to be
he needs to get in front of the screen because he's the face of this, regardless if he's not doing the voice acting. He is a little bit, but he's the face of this.
We're invested in it, different than Hollywood. We're not invested as much. We are invested in the stories he's telling, but we're invested in him as a storyteller. And we really love the stories he tells, whether it's animated or him as a talking head, you know? And we want to see those. And we love when he's doing super creative directing and animation or anything when it comes to this or Final Space. But goodness, it doesn't just take the wind out of his sails. It takes the wind out of the whole audience sails when Final Space gets screwed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It really hurts everybody because we're invested so heavily in him as a storyteller. And I want him to realize that. I want him to say, hey, it's not just about, we're not just here. Like Rick and Morty or Family Guy, like these will exist for who's necessarily making them. We're here because Olin's making it, you know?
Yeah.
And he needs to understand this is not, you can't approach it as an indie person with the Hollywood system. You are stronger as you.
Yeah.
You are strong.
Agreed.
You throwing up a unedited talking head video is more powerful than 5 episodes of Family Guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's more powerful
because nobody's following Seth MacFarlane.
Nobody.
He's not the reason people watch Family Guy. It's just because it's a show that people watch and people like to laugh. People like Olan stuff because of Olan.
It's Olan, yeah.
We like the creativity that comes out of that mind of his and the personality of his, you know? And so we want to see it on videos. We want to see it in films. We want to see it in animations. We want to see Olan, and that's why we're here.
Yeah.
And so just do more of that. It's very unlikely he'll come across this video, but if he does, good grief. Like, give us more you. You don't have to put a lot of effort into it if you don't have time. Just hit record on a camera. Don't even set up a microphone, bro.
Yeah,
just give us more.
Put the effort into your projects, but talk to us.
Talk to us. Don't give us one video every 5 or 6 months. Talk to us.
Talk to us.
Talk to us a couple times a month. That's what we want, you know? And we'll continue rewarding you for that effort.
Yeah, we
just will. We'll keep funding your Godspeed.
We want to laugh with you and cry with you and go through the whole process.
I want to see about Mondays.
And when you break your tailbone going down the steps, then we will.
It's the same reason people like their YouTube content creators is because they want to go on the journey with them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's the expectation already there in his channel that he puts it out as he puts out stuff that is not just him, but also it doesn't have to be super regular. But we just do need more. And like you have support. Everything from Balloon Shop to starting your channel to screaming at Target to freaking fighting a bat off in a small tent. Everything that you've put out, everything that he's put out is important for the audience to hear and enjoy. You're an entertainer and you're good at it. You don't have to be an amazing director. You are just you, and that's what makes you good at it.
And the animated content and the stories don't have to be as consistent. They can be few and far between, but it really is his face. His face needs to be the thing that we see. Just talking, just having a good time.
And sharing his opinions. I know he's alluded to opinions, but I think he's been hurt by Hollywood so much he's nervous to say stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, we want to hear your opinions, bro. The audience is going to be your support system.
I'd love to see him do some commentary on other people's projects.
Yeah. I want to hear stories of the good, the bad, and the ugly of the whole time on Final Space. Like, there's so many stories, so much laughter and pain, and so much. You could put a 5-part documentary together that's simple, that you edit from your bedroom, you know, or your office space.
In person, work with Keith David. Is Keith David awesome in person? I imagine he's awesome in person. Right. Did you know, who'd you get to? Yeah, I want to hear those things.
Warner Brothers doesn't own your stories.
Yeah, they don't own your interactions with Keith David.
No, you can. That all can happen.
Just tell me about Keith David.
You want to know about?
I just want to know.
So yeah, I don't know. I care so much about the content, his entertainment, so much more than most YouTubers I follow, which is so strange. I think it's just because
they're invested.
Well, his charisma's off Like it's his charisma is so far beyond the average person.
Mm-hmm.
And he's made me laugh so many times. I'm so invested now.
And you identify with him too.
I do. The solo creative that just wants to do fun stuff, and then he's got this excited for life personality, and he's really tapped into how he feels about things, so that calls for great storytelling. My goodness, there's so much potential behind this guy, and I just want to see everything he does succeed, but I need to see more of it.
Mm-hmm.
Need to see more of it.
What's that sigh?
I've given all of my thoughts about Olan.
Yeah.
We appreciate that here. We want to hear all of your thoughts.
Go support Olan.
Yeah, absolutely. Go check out the
YouTube.
Kickstarter. Go watch the YouTube video, which I believe has close to 80,000 views so far. It's still climbing. It had 70 when I looked at it this morning.
Yeah. And go to his Godspeed Kickstarter and watch the video he put together there about his vision for the future of Godspeed.
Yeah.
Check that out for sure.
And of course, check out the Final Space graphic novel.
Yes. I believe it's funded at this point. And the pre-order's already up there. So hopefully once it's done, it's going to be a long process still, but hopefully once it's done, it'll just be available to be like, hey, we're going to print another 5,000 copies. Go ahead and order it. And we'll, once we get those 5,000 orders, we'll print them, you know, hopefully that's the case. So we could just keep producing that for everybody who wants that story. Cause I know I will want that graphic novel, especially when it's done. Once it's done, I will want it. I'm following you on Instagram. I'm gonna want that graphic novel.
Yeah.
So that's kind of those were kind of the talking points that we had for
now the heavy visual element.
Yes, the heavy visual.
I'm in.
Look, 'tis the season.
Right?
Tis the season. We've got some Christmas content in the last part of this podcast.
Sure.
It's pretty Christmassy.
It is.
And, you know, as in the past, we've done sort of create a movie.
Piece of art.
Create a piece of art, create a movie poster or something. And the thing about nowadays is we have such easy access to AI art.
And we've all been dabbling in AI art, you know.
And now look, I believe we've had some pretty fun, pretty impressive competitions so far of just creating our own stuff and making cool imagery. But the AI art gives us an opportunity to create something so much more complex in a shorter time frame and make these competitions a little bit more
worth their salt,
visually entertaining.
So wait, is this a competition?
Not really.
We'll have to vote on who has the best.
No.
See, it's more
I was not scared for a competition.
It's more of how well did you execute your
task,
right? So I think first we're gonna get into Joe's.
All right. So before we go to it, before we reveal any of these, we need to give the groundwork of how we started the story. So here's what happened. We said Christmas cards. All right. Okay. If you were to see a Christmas card artwork, all right. What is the catchphrase you might see on the inside of the Christmas card? So for example, happy gremlin holidays. Or I don't know.
Yeah. Like, so, you know, Christmas cards say 'tis the season, happy holidays, you know, have a Merry Christmas. And so we took that and we were like, well, let's make it a play on words to some extent.
Yes.
And you have to figure out how to get your AI prompts to make the best visual representation of the prompt.
And the prompt is the season greetings, right?
Right. So
and I really took mine and said, I want to make sure that there's enough here, that I inject enough here that we can insinuate a story.
Yeah.
You know? So you have a prompt that you have to work inside of, but then what is the visual story that you're telling, right?
And that's good. Josh, what was the prompt that you gave Joe?
So is Joseph going first, or the one I created for Joseph?
Up.
Or Joseph?
Joe's is first, and you gave him the.
So let me get the text to
greeting.
Get the exact wording down.
I know it.
No, you said it wrong earlier. You said it, but you said it wrong earlier.
All right.
So hopefully you created it off the exact prompt I gave you.
Yes.
So have a very frightful Christmas.
Yes, frightful. So I'll go ahead and go to it. Wait, sorry, this is the main page.
Yeah,
Christmas
this was
cards.
This was supposed to be up while we were talking about the intro to the Christmas cards. Sorry.
Christmas cards. All right, here we go. Very frightful Christmas.
Whew. That is frightening.
Yeah. All right. So obviously, as we've already said, the audio listeners need to be watching this.
Yeah.
But to describe it, we got Santa, who almost looks like he might be possessed, weeping at a grave.
Yes.
Can I say what I
Hold on, I'm just describing the visuals, and then you can get to it. He is hovering above him, holding his shoulders, almost like he's controlled by. Is this dark, almost looks like a Nazgul here.
Well, it's the ghost of Christmas future.
It goes to Christmas future, and he's out in the dark woods at night. It's very eerie. There, he is in a wooden cabin. There's multiple graves around him in the front yard of this cabin, and there's Christmas lights on the cabin.
Can I give you my?
And it's Santa, by the way. Santa is.
I also have an interpretation of this.
This feels like Santa Claus turned into Ebenezer Scrooge at some point and had to be taken through the whole Christmas Carol process, where he saw the past.
It does feel like
he saw the present, and he's seeing the future. Which
does feel like that.
Either his grave or Tiny Tim's grave,
right? A little bit.
We just watched that. The Muppets Christmas Carol, and it's very this-esque.
And that's fine. And I would say when it comes to the Christmas Carol, that's a frightening part of the story.
I think I love the idea of a Christmas Carol, but it's like at some point Santa Claus lost interest in Christmas, and he has to be taken through the three ghosts and everything.
Right.
Very similar to what you're saying. I was about to say what I take out of this is like, that grave is maybe like Mrs. Claus, and she died, and Santa just became this monster.
That's a good look. And I don't want to inject too much of my own opinions, because this is what I generated, but I intentionally did make sure that there's many graves, right? That was the important thing.
But he's specifically looking at one grave, though.
It is, yes.
You have to say that. So
you're right, and that's it. That was also intentional. So, as far as a very frightful Christmas, and does it tell a story? How, on a scale of 1 to 10, where am I sitting?
Let's look at all of them and then give a ranking, because I don't want to, Who's next?
Yeah, so mine is up next, and Joe gave me the prompt, which I changed the wording a little bit on the card itself. But the prompt was a magical Mad Max Christmas to you. That was a little bit much, so I changed up the wording on the actual card.
All right.
So I did front and back of card. Joseph only did back or front, whatever you want to say it.
This is the front. This is the
we didn't
door.
specify. I just wanted to do front and back. Did you do front and back, Wyatt, or just front?
I only did the front. I could have done.
I'm the only one who did
back
both.
version, but I didn't insert it here. I didn't really have time.
All right, a magical Mad Max Christmas to you.
Yeah.
Here we go. Nice.
Oh, okay.
So it says have a mad and merry Christmas.
Did you, Wyatt, be honest, did you
nice
edit it at all once you got the prompt?
Yeah. I put the words in.
So that's cheating. I think you cheated.
No.
I think
I put word. It's a Christmas card. I put
it
words.
Doesn't matter.
In it.
I don't remember if I gave you the one with words or without words, but I did have a few with and without words, and I let AI do the words for me. I think you cheated a little bit.
I don't think I cheated. I think I
there wasn't rules against
there wasn't rules against
There was no
it.
rules against it, but it was
because there's no rules, and because it's my game, by the way, I added. I felt that the things that I got didn't just they didn't really display the Merry Christmas kind of thing, and I wanted it to be like a postcard.
Right.
So I grabbed the one I liked the best, which was this one with the truck and the Christmas tree and the the dudes on the motorcycles, which this felt the most Mad Max to me.
Which I'm gonna be honest, you might win just by the pun Christmas.
And that was the other thing. That was the other thing.
Because
that was the other thing. You can't. It's just my rules. I can win.
No, you can't. You can win for the picture. I'm not accepting that you win for the words because
look, I wanted
nobody else added words
because I mean, come on, Christmas.
It's right there.
It's
right there.
It's good.
There were actually some with words, but every time it said Merry Christmas, it was MARRY, and I couldn't do that.
I'll say this: I will deduct mental points because I include magical for a reason.
It's pretty magical.
That's pretty magical.
Look,
I think that's very magical.
It's sort of magical, but I was hoping that you could incorporate magical in a more obvious way. That was my hope.
I don't know.
Instead of just the general
pretty magical. I couldn't
the season
every time.
Max, really.
So every time I tried to get like a magic element, it sort of went wonky. So the prompts
and therein lies the challenge.
the prompts that I inserted were it's like bright, happy, fun, Mad Max, it's,
right, okay.
It's tough to get all of those elements into it.
So it's the idea of magic as opposed to legitimate magic.
Yeah.
The magic of Christmas.
That would be a magical Mad Max Christmas right there. Merry Christmas.
Look, very good job. I would love to receive this Christmas card.
You couldn't like give me something where there's a very obvious pun and not have me, do the pun.
Which before we get to Joshua's though, I will have to say, if you just think about it, the card, the season card or the holiday card industry really needs to take advantage of AI art.
Oh yeah,
because you could be creating so much better stuff. We should open a shop.
Yeah,
we should open a shop. Just based on this idea. We would sell so much more than Hallmark.
That was mine. The prompt, Josh, do you want to tell them the prompt I gave you?
Well, no. You can go ahead and say it because it's your prompt.
So I gave Josh the prompt, Happy Hobbit Days, because again, I like wordplay.
Here we go.
I have a front and back because
which is kind of cheating if you think about it.
2 slides or on one slide?
It's one slide.
I clarified before. I clarified before.
Kind of cheating.
I clarified. We never clarified about the word.
If you can have a front and back, then I can have words.
Right,
no, because you made up that rule and didn't ask anybody.
Okay.
It's pretty good.
I really like this.
I like the Elvish at the bottom here as if it is a Christmas card.
Mm-hmm.
From
this
somebody.
I'm curious, Joshua, what prompts did you put in?
I put.
I want to know if you came up with these ideas or you put a very simple prompt and it gave you this.
I came up with a few things. So I first started off just putting like a Christmas card from a Hobbit, okay? And I think that's how I kind of got the front of the card, the house. And then I was like, that's good, but I want some kind of Hobbit. I want somebody in it because you can't just have that. So that was going to be my front of the card. And then I got more in depth with the back where I put Christmas card with hobbits doing, drinking, Christmassy things, and I put quite a few prompts to get the back of the card, but
Okay. So, but I was gonna say, like, it is clever to do the Hobbit hole, and it just make it so Christmassy. That is quite clever, and I wasn't sure if the AI just kind of figured it out for you, or if you kind of
yeah, that one is more
prompted all of
AI.
this.
That one
Oh,
was more
the
AI.
first one is very, very Christmas card. You know, like a
Which
house.
it sounds like Joshua put in Christmas card,
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, I did. I specifically
right? In the
put
prompt.
Christmas card. Yeah.
To get that sort of Christmas card look, did you add like a watercolor prompt?
No, I just let it generate stuff, and there was a
Yeah.
lot of very cartoon-esque things. I didn't like them. I liked the things that they were doing, but I didn't like the design of the animation style.
Yeah.
So I went
is
with these
very
two.
Christmas. This is very, very Christmas in its art style, and in its execution. I like the back of the card feels like something you would send. Like, here's the front, it's a Christmas card. Here's the back, it's a picture of the family or friends.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
You know,
yeah.
having a
Which is
having
what
a
I was going
pint.
for. Yeah, which is what I was going for.
Man, okay, so we have to take multiple things into consideration.
Mm.
Without two pictures to go on, and without any like fun text on mine, I'm looking like the least interesting. Okay.
Yours tells the most story.
Story, yeah.
Yeah.
Neither of you prioritize story too much here.
No, because you don't have to for a you want it for a Christmas card. You almost the person already. You're receiving the card as a I already know this is little Johnny and Crystal, and they're my friend, and I want a picture of them.
This
type
seems
thing.
like
I know
something
their story.
Jack
already.
Skellington would send to somebody.
Right.
Yeah.
But if the words have a very frightful Christmas, or something else clever that has to maybe do with like a Christmas Carol or something, you put words on this, it goes up by a lot of points, right? Am I right?
I think so.
If the text was on here.
Yeah. So, and that my thinking was it needs to be a Christmas card that somebody would receive or somebody would give that has text on it that says Merry Christmas or something.
So I had quite a few that had Happy Hobbit Days on them, but the art style wasn't what I was going for, so I didn't choose any of those.
Yeah, and there was no requirement to put words on it. It's cool that the Elvish is here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there were no requirements. I think we all pretty much succeeded in the AI itself of getting a prompt that felt
We're all very interesting and all very festive, or all very Christmas card. You could see it on a Christmas card, 100%.
Oh yeah.
So, but whose is the best? How are we going to rank these?
You can't rank them. I don't. Nobody won here. This is our Christmas card. I don't want to say nobody won.
Give it to Josh if it was just the house. Like I feel like the back of the card is maybe a little unnecessary because the front of the card feels so unbelievably Christmassy.
It does.
That feels like Happy Hobbit Days.
Yes.
100%. The back of the card is fun, and I think it really feels like the inside of what's going on in this house here. But that's something I almost would like to just take and send that to people.
Yeah.
Why it's
need to make it,
print it out and let's send it to people.
Yeah.
Happy Hobbit Days.
Happy Hobbit Days. I think, okay, so let's just say so Joshua's is the most Christmas. Wyatt is definitely the most fun. Without the Christmas element, this could also be a birthday card.
True.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It actually it's Christmas because you're wishing them a Christmas, and we got a Christmas tree and all the Christmas elements. But you could just take that away, add some different words, and it could be a fun birthday card as well.
What kind of words?
I don't know. Happy
do front words.
He did say some different words.
Some different words.
Mm.
And it could be a fun birthday card. But it is fun that it's a Christmas card. So
Yeah.
I think you definitely have the most fun card.
I think it's pretty fun. It's getting that bright kind of desert feel.
Mhm.
I had to actually put in a prompt that's like bright. It couldn't just be
Yeah.
desert. It has to
I have
almost
to-
hurt your eyes to look at.
I
The way
I
Mad
do
Men
have to point out Wyatt, even with his movie posters we've done in the past, he does a very similar style with all his stuff. It's very
Mm.
cartoon-esque.
Yeah, I like a lot of sketch work kind of things happening.
Okay, so I don't want to give a word to mine, but since we're not ranking them, who gets like the most of something, you know?
Best story, I think, goes to Joe.
Yeah,
Well,
I would
best
agree.
story. It's for a Christmas card. People are not always looking for a story. What's another word that interesting is empty? What the most thought provoking or the most?
Probably the most thought provoking card.
Yeah.
It definitely got me provoking thought.
Provoked in thought.
And then you definitely provoked my thoughts.
Yeah.
I'd say, yeah, yours is the most thought provoking. Josh is the most
Christmas-y.
Very
like this is Christmas.
Look,
who's also controlling these page turns? Is anyone
not.
touching the button?
I didn't touch it.
All right.
I'm gonna touch it.
Joshua provokes definitely the most Christmas.
But I think it's kind of an easy layup here. You put hobbits and Christmas, that's almost
they go hand in hand.
They go hand in hand.
They go foot in foot.
Wait, what?
You
They
know
don't
what I'm
go
saying?
hand in hand. They know Christmas. Lord of the Rings Christmas special.
You think about Hobbit's very nature of coziness and
Oh yeah, well, coziness
and parties, and then throw Christmas into that.
Yeah.
It's gonna be the most cozy. It's gonna be
100%.
the most Christmas.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, most Christmas. What do we give Wyatt? And then
I think it would.
Wyatt's is the most fun. Wyatt's is the most fun.
Okay.
You give
We're
this to
having a
your
lot of
silly
fun
friend.
here.
You give this to your silly friend for Christmas. That's what you do. You're fun loving, looking for a laugh, silly friend. And it's definitely the most fun of all the Christmas cards. Joshua's is the most Christmassy, and mine is the most. It's the one that grabs your attention and you pull it out and stare at it at the store for a bit. You know what I mean?
Definitely stare at yours
Like,
quite a bit.
Yeah, you stare at it, trying to think.
What's happening? Why am I scared? Why am I sad?
Right. So I don't know. I think that's a pretty good breakdown of all these.
Mm-hmm.
And with that,
yeah, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry
Just to do some
Christmas.
housekeeping.
Mm.
There will not be any podcasts for a few weeks, but there will be still stuff coming out on the channel.
Yes,
so
still
if you watch
videos.
the channel, we won't do a live podcast that comes out on Fridays at noon for a couple weeks, but we will be back and we will get back into it. We'll probably be in the new year, but we still will have videos, reactions, different lives, stuff that comes out on the channel. So stick around for that. Don't go anywhere. And happy Hanukkah. Well, Hanukkah's over.
Happy
Hanukkah's
Hobbit days.
over.
Happy Hobbit days. Merry Christmas.